Corpse Party Blood Drive, Chapter 7, Determination. It's the end of the world as we know it. The sounds of fire trucks and patrol cars echoed through the streets. The sky was dark, the air stale, and the many strong, cold gusts of winds bore mass amounts of dust and debris. I didn't envy the reporter her job, as she seemed mere moments from being blown off her feet, but to her credit, she persevered. Behind her, there was a black shadow of an old man. I'm here reporting on what's been dubbed the nationwide ghost disaster state, which local representatives claim is now in effect as of last night. This string of unexplained and potentially unexplainable deaths has been plaguing the city presently, shows no signs of letting up. Suspicious and sudden demises, homicides with unknown motives, and reports of paranormal visitations are all increasing at an alarming rate. The police forces in each prefecture are still weighing their opinions for dealing with this issue, and few have made any official statements thus far, frustratingly. The old man's shadow in the background began acting strangely, jumping in place and making various other aimless motions. The Metropolitan Police, meanwhile, have suggested that all locals travel to a safe location in groups of 3 or more as soon as possible, remaining indoors until further notice.
昨晩より全国各地で発生している巨大な黒い柱による出現被害につきまして、国土交通省は非常態勢の災害対策本部および警戒本部を設置しました。
The sudden devastating appearance of black pillars throughout Japan last night has also led the MLIT to declare a state of emergency, setting up disaster shelters and lookouts.
各地方整備局管内の情報に基づく交通、河川の被災状況および対策状況は次の通りです。
Official word from local bureaus on how these pillars are affecting traffic, the status of damages to the rivers, as well as any countermeasures being taken can be seen here.
柱の成分は専門家の分析でも解析不明の未知の鉱物の結晶のようでエンティティウォール、霊体物質と名付けられています。
Experts have analyzed the pillar's composition and concluded that they're made of previously unknown material. They've tossed around names like spirit matter and entity wall. Weird that they got it right. Due to their rapid growth and complete inability of even seismographs to predict where they may spawn, the number of casualties is quite high, and global tensions are even higher. Everything up to and including industrial cutters and blades has been employed to attempt to cut through these objects, but with absolutely no effect.
自衛隊の調査結果などから先日まで上空に浮かんでいた黒い球体との関連を調査しています。
The Ministry of Defense is using JSDF data to explore the strong possibility that these pillars are related in some way to the aerial sphere that hovered in our skies only days ago.
新しい避難場所の情報です。避難指示の出た地域にお住まいの方は以下の情報をチェックしてください。
I have here a list of newly appointed relief shelters, so if you live in one of the designated evacuation areas, please take note of the information on your screen.
携帯サイト、ウェブサイトでも情報を発信しております。なお、ご覧の白い地域にある体育館や学校はすでに満員です。
This information is also available on our website and through our mobile app, but do note any gymnasiums and schools shown in white are full, so you need to look elsewhere.
お近くの空きのある施設へ向かってください。
We strongly recommend that you proceed to the nearest open facility as soon as possible.
っていうか、前兆も速報もなくいきなり生えてくるんだ。避難も対策もねえんだよ。運が悪きが死ぬだけだ。
But if these things can sprout up anywhere without warning and give you no time to escape, evacuation is meaningless. There's not a damn thing anybody can do to stay safe.
警察はいつまでも公式発表してないんだよ。編集を不祥事と取られるのが嫌なのか、それとも何か隠してるのか。
Whether you die or not is just dumb luck. When the hell are the police going to get off their asses and make a statement? Are they scared of public outcry? Are they hiding something? The middle-aged announcer was yelling at the top of his lungs, and in an absolute frenzy, he kicked his studio desk to the ground. A black shadow of a woman could be seen behind him.
委員長
Class rep.
篠崎
Shinozaki?
さん、あゆみちゃん、
Amy.
篠崎さん。
Shinozaki? They don't have faces, do they?
生き返らせてくれてありがとう。Thank you for bringing us back to life.
You mean I did it? Yeah, no.
だけど、もっといっぱい死んじゃったね。
But a whole lot more people have died now. The room grew dark, and each of the 4 figures who stood before me slowly melted into the blackness, becoming indistinct silhouettes.
持田も中島も岸沼も
Even Mochida, Nakashima, and Kishinuma have died.
たくさん。
So many people gone.
私たちも生き返ってないよ。What's this? Even we haven't actually
Been revived, huh?
あゆみちゃん。
What was it you were trying to do again, Ayumi? No! No! I screamed and looked up. It was just a dream. I was at home watching TV. Well, it might not be a dream considering what's going on. I scrunched myself up again, putting my face to my knees.
生き返るって信じてたのに最初からダメだった。そうよ。私は全部意味のないことをしてたんだ。私どうすればいいの？
Bring them back. Bring them back. I was like a broken record with that, but it was a doomed idea from the start. Everything I've done has been pointless, so what do I do now?
生き返るって思ったから吉江の山で行って大怪我をしてお姉ちゃんまで失って帰ってきたのに。
I thought I could revive them. I really did. I mean, if I can come back from Yoshi's house despite those injuries and losing my sister, then anybody should be able to come back. I raised my face from my knees, eyes red and burning. And then, as if I hadn't already had enough tragedy in my life, I heard a loud crash just outside my house. It was unmistakably a car wreck, and a rather severe one at that. The car's alarm was going off, but I was trying my best to ignore it. I didn't need this right now, so I simply wasn't going to bother with it. Sis, what do I do, sis?
お姉ちゃん。
Sis. Oh, okay. I thought I was in control. Never mind. Fine.
次のニュースです。公益財団法人 PL 振興社の会長が失踪しました。
Up next, we've learned that the CEO of PL Promotions Co. Inc. is among those who've gone missing. Oh, now I'm moving. Okay, well, I imagine if I go to open the door, the front door, it's gonna trigger next scene. I kind of want to look around. I need to get to the front door. Oh. Okay, fine. At least that wasn't playing the whole time. The car alarm outside was still going off, and it was getting harder and harder to ignore it by the second. Just answer it, Ayumi. Or don't. Maybe check the peephole first.
一体誰が？
What? Who's... Whoever was ringing my doorbell was really, really persistent. The irregular sound brought me back to reality. I crept over to the peephole and silently looked through it to see who'd be visiting me at this hour. On the other side of the door stood a man I didn't recognize. He had short hair and he was pressing the chime frantically, as if his life depended on it.
誰？
Who is that? I was kind of creeped out.
やっぱり出ないでおこう。
I really shouldn't open the door. I moved away from the peephole. Jeez. The persistent ringing continued for a bit, but then finally, thankfully, came to an abrupt halt. I slowly crept back to the peephole and took another look. The man was still there. He was just pacing back and forth in place in front of a house that, for all he knew, had no occupants. After another short while, he approached the door again and immediately put his eye right up to the outside of the peephole. If I move now, he totally know I'm... Oh, sorry. If I move now, he totally know I'm here. The man moved his head away, but quickly replaced it with his finger, which he swirled around and around inside the tight space as if trying to reach my eye or poke it out. Then he stepped away from the door. I could have taken this opportunity to slowly move away from the peephole, but I was oddly transfixed. Thank God. Now all he has to do is leave. Of course, the second I thought that, he came back to the door yet again. And yet again, he skipped the doorbell and went straight for the peephole. What does he want? Why isn't he saying anything? This is really creeping me out. Well, fine then. I'll just open the door and give him a piece of my mind. I grabbed the doorknob and was moments away from following through with that plan, when suddenly...
Ayumi? Satsuko? Don't open it.
What?
He's dead.
I slowly turned to look at her.
The Nirvana is the world of the dead. And that world is coming here.
Then there was an oddly familiar sound. Another car accident. Again, right outside my door. This time I looked outside through the peephole and saw the man from earlier sandwiched between a car and the wall of one of the houses across the street. He was absolutely mangled. But after only a few moments, the man's corpse disappeared, leaving nothing but a shadow in its place on the wall and ground alike, a black stain. What is this? What's happening to the world? Not that I even really had to ask. Is this from breaking down the walls of the Nirvana? I wasn't just asking myself, I was asking Sachiko, whose presence still remained just behind my back. But she just looked up at me with sad eyes. That person just now was one of the deceased, and if he turned into a black stain, then... No, it couldn't be. I pulled my smartphone from my pocket and forced myself to remain calm enough to access the photo, but then just stopped and stared. God, no! The photo displayed on my phone, which was now on the floor, no longer had just my friends from before with blackened out faces, but Mochida, Nakashima, and Kishinuma as well. I pounded the floor with both hands and shuddered violently. Thou shalt repent. The end of the world is nigh. God shall not forgive those who art unclean and indiscreet. Some cultist group was speaking on TV. I guess the news must have ended at some point when I wasn't paying attention. The end of the world, huh? This time, I was just plain talking to myself. Oh, How are you alive?
そう終わりよ。まさか
Or is it your ghost?
ヤゴウラの最後の生き残りが自爆覚悟でこんなこと考えてるなんてね。
That's right, the end. Who'd ever thought the last remaining Yaguda could have enough suicide bomber determination to dream up something like this? Nagati appeared in my hallway. I had no idea how long she'd been there, nor how she'd gotten in. I noticed she still had her heels on, though. It's you. I stood up, and Sachiko was, as always, waiting in the wings behind me.
幸せの石で帰ってこれたわ。金付き堂の階段から吹き抜けを落ちてる間にね。
He came back with the Ever After Stones. He used them in midair when I was falling down the bell tower.
まあ、天神章が壊れたからこの石は使えないけど。
Heavenly Host is totally destroyed, though, so these are just plain ordinary stones now. To demonstrate, Magari snapped the two together.
涅槃よ。死人を迎えよ。
Nirvana?
ほらね。
Oh. Nirvana, I summoned the dead. See? I probably flinched, but she was right. Nothing happened.
世界はもう数刻のうちに混沌に包まれて死の世界になる。
Within the next few hours, this world will totally be blanketed in chaos. It's going to be the new land of the dead.
あっけないでしょ。まさにこの世の終わりってや
Sucks, huh? This is seriously the cataclysm.
つ。ちなみにあれ、私の教団。アレンジでしょ。我ながら引くわ。
And to top it all off, that's my order on TV there. Fucking shameless, aren't they? Even I've got to draw the line at that point. She pulled back her chin and flashed me a strange smile.
ああ、そういえば。あなたの親もイカれて入信してたわよ。
Oh, yeah, your parents went crazy and joined, so, you know. This day couldn't have been much worse for me.
あなた、このままでいいわけ？
Are you okay leaving things like this then? Magari wasn't mincing words, it seemed. I held my head in both hands and looked down at the ground.
責任を感じてるなら、ちょっと顔貸しなさい。あんたのうちに話が。
If you feel responsible, come with me for a bit. I have something to discuss with you about your bloodline. Magari approached me and grabbed my arm. Sachiko, still right behind me, began to growl like a guard dog.
話してよ。どうして私なんか友達も救えない？何もできない。
Get your hands off of me! I can't even save my friends. I can't do anything.
篠崎の血だか知らないけど、私にできることなんて何もないよ。
I don't know what the hell difference the blood of the Shinozaki is supposed to make, but I'm just a Yumi, and a Yumi's worthless.
大体、涅槃をこの世に出したのはヨシエさんが最初にやったことじゃない。
Besides, the person who first introduced the Nirvana to this world was Yoshi, not me. I screamed as loudly as fiercely as I could. I didn't do anything wrong. I closed my eyes and cried the hardest I've ever cried, sobbing so intensely that I found myself nearly hyperventilating. Magari slapped me down to the ground.
ムカつく女ね。あなた等身大すぎるわ。
You're one stubborn bitch, you know that? And got a hell of an ego, too.
少しは格好つけようとなさいよ。
For once in your life, just suck it up! I held my cheek and continued sobbing. Magari was looking down on me with contempt in her eyes, but also a certain intensity that seemed more akin to desperation than anything.
篠崎あゆみ、真実を一つ教えるわ。
Ayumi Shinozaki, here's one fact you should know.
7番目の柱。知識のセフィラの軌道を止められなかった時点で、もう世界の終わりは動かない。だけど、
Once the seventh pillar, the Sephiroth of knowledge, starts up, it's all over. The end of the world is carved in stone. However, Magari closed in on me as if our lips were about to touch. Sachiko growled again, but Magari was clearly not intimidated in the slightest.
ブック・オブ・シャドウズはまだ失われていない。
The Book of Shadows isn't gone yet. What?
あの本を手にした篠崎の血を引くあなたならミストとまだ戦えるかもしれないわ。
You came in contact with the original book, so since you draw the blood of the Shinozaki, you may yet be able to fight Masudo. I was still hesitating, and Magari apparently didn't much like that.
ふざけやがって。
God, just come the fuck on! Suddenly, Magari was pulling up the top of my uniform. My plump white stomach was now fully exposed.
そったれの本はここにあるわ。
That piece of shit book is right here. She pointed to a spot just below my belly button. What? As she did so, my stomach started growling with an unearthly roar and shifted in place slightly. It was almost like there was a snake slithering around inside of me. What the Okay, I assumed when her stomach glowed, I really didn't. Okay, you know what? Just keep going on.
もっと早く気づけばよかったわ。
Sure would have been nice if you'd noticed that a little sooner.
篠崎義恵の家の地下で力を使ってからそこに潜り込んで眠ってやがったのよ。そいつは。
That thing's been sleeping inside of you since you first used its power in the basement of Shinozaki's estate. And that's why she had to pee and there was blood instead. Why she said her bladder feels like... Okay, you know what? Fine. Magari crossed her arms and snorted.
ただし、あくまで入れ物で、中身は空っぽだけどね。
Of course, it's only a container. Nothing's in it right now.
生意気にうなってやんの。
Growling like a cocky bastard. The growl that came from within my own body sounded like that of a wild beast.
まさか本当に。
There's no way. Is this for real? Unfortunately, I'm reading it, so it is.
ほんと、すっかり騙されたわ。
I was actually tricked pretty good.
私は本来、教団からあなたがあの空間でブックオブシャドウズを手に入れるためのサポート役。それと、その他雑用のために派遣されていたのよ。
Originally, the elders sent me to support you in your efforts to obtain the Book of Shadows from that other realm, among other things.
そうなの。
Okay.
って言っても、手に入れた瞬間、奪い取るつもりだったけどね。
But of course, that still means I was planning on stealing it from you as soon as you got your hands on it.
まあ、それも、今となってはどうでもいいわ。世界が壊れるのなら、教団の継承権もクソもないし。ただね、ムカつくのよ。
Now, though, that doesn't matter. If the world's going to pot, there's not really any meaning in becoming the heir to the Martubas anymore, is there? And that just fucking sucks.
ミストよ。ミスト。あれで勝ったつもりでいるなんて、笑っちゃうわよね。
It all goes back to Masudo. Misuto. If that little fucker thinks he's won the war, he's got another thing coming.
そんなあいつを思いっきりなぶり殺してやりたいでしょ。
Don't you just want to slaughter him like a pig right now?
あなたも甘ったれずにできることに目を向けなさい。可能性を放棄するのは死んだ後でいい。
You should stop being such a pussy and look at all the things you're capable of. There'll be time enough to abandon all your potential after you're dead. My eyes began to well up yet again.
私にまだ何かできることがあるの。
Are you saying there's still something I can do? Magari's expression turned deathly serious.
なんとしてもブックオブシャドウズを体の外に出して支配なさい。本があなたの覚悟を認めれば自然と出てくるわ。
Do whatever you can to bring that Book of Shadows out of your body and gain control over it. If the book recognizes your determination, it should extract itself naturally.
そして本の力があればミストのいる涅槃にもう一度乗り込む道も示されるでしょうよ。
And if you have the power of the book at your disposal, it'll lead the way right back into Misudo's nirvana. I could only stare incredulously at my abdomen. Magari took this opportunity to open my front door, again to illustrate her point. Outside, the weather was still completely anomalous, with hurricane-like winds and debris clouds everywhere. The clouds up above, too, were moving abnormally fast through a disconcerting blood-red sky. Every few seconds, a sound not unlike spark plug firing could be heard echoing from the distance as another black flame ignited and burned itself out in some random spot.
どのみちあなたも世界と共に滅びて死ぬわ。だったら見せてみなさい。その前にあなたの覚悟を。
I mean, you're gonna lie down and die with this world either way, so what have you got to lose? Show me how tough you are while you still got the chance.
黒魔術から生まれたその本は残酷と血を好むわ。
Just remember, the book was born from black magic. It adores cruelty and blood. With those parting words, Magadi disappeared into the city, the sounds of her heels clacking softer and softer until they were no longer audible at all. Sachiko and I could do nothing but see her off. The entire nation was now plagued with entity walls and black, silhouetted-like spirits of the dead. The entity walls were rapidly destroying schools, downtown bypasses, and other crucial traffic cornerstones, and even rescue shelters, creating countless new casualties by the minute. People were running in the streets, panicked and confused, and almost certainly not much longer for this earth. Where are we supposed to go? It doesn't matter, just run or you'll be crushed. What about overseas? How are you gonna get there with the sky and the ocean both screwed up? Meanwhile, in Miss Kuon's office, the black-suited agents watched in horror as each TV monitor displayed a feed from a different news network across the world, and the story was exactly the same on all of them.
会長、私たちはどうすればよいのですか？
Boss, what are we supposed to do? How is a book supposed to recognize my determination? What the hell am I supposed to do? Okay. I don't have any reason to go in the kitchen right now. There's nothing I need to do in here right now. Oh, hey, a save point. Oh, hey, this is our room. Okay.
お姉ちゃん、私に力を貸して。
Sis, give me strength. What are you doing? What you doing? In front of the mirrored dresser sat Hino's zodiac dagger. I gripped it in terror, closed my eyes, and started shaking.
なんとしてもブックオブシャドウズを体の外に出して支配なさい。
Do whatever you can to bring that book of shadows out of your body and gain control over it.
黒魔術から生まれたその本は残酷と血を好むわ。
Just remember, the book was born from black magic. It adores cruelty and blood. I couldn't back down now. I lifted the dagger in front of me, poised it, and plunged it into my body and carved myself open, as samurai once did in the ritualistic suicide called seppuku. But I couldn't go through with it. I was too scared of death, too scared of the pain. I can't. I can't. The face that reflected back at me in the mirror was twisted with fear. I didn't even recognize myself. But I could see in those eyes all the weight that had been put on my shoulders, all the responsibility I'd been forced to bear.
臆病で矮小で弱くてこんな自分さえいなければ。
I'm a coward. I'm small and weak. The world doesn't need me. I won't be missed.
ここで決別するのよ。
But I can make a difference here and now. My mind was made up. I lifted the dagger again, only to bring it halfway to its destination before halting its descent once more. No matter how determined I was, no matter how strong my conviction, this was literally suicide. I knew what had to be done, but knowing and accepting are two different things. I began crying like a baby. This was the most afraid I'd ever been in my entire life, and almost certainly the most afraid I ever would be. At this point, the only way I'd be able to go through with it was to clear my mind and let my arms make the motions automatically, and before I knew it, that's exactly what I did. It's most likely because I wasn't thinking about it, or anything else for that matter. That the dagger found absolutely no resistance. It was like applying excess force to slice a cake. For a very brief moment I felt nothing, But then the convulsions started, first in my abdomen, then quickly spreading up to the rest of my body. My abdomen was now spasming and constricting involuntarily, and the rest of me wasn't faring much better. My entire body was in total chaos. Killing yourself in your sister's room, that sucks. Hopefully it works. Otherwise, this is just sad. The extent of the agony I'd felt in that moment was absolutely impossible to convey. It was all-encompassing. I was utterly incapable of focusing on anything else. My lower body was spewing bright red blood, thick black blood, and unknown yellow substances, all of which were blending together into a slurry that was, at its core, my life essence. This went far beyond anything I could have ever imagined. The sheer shock of it rendered my mind a jumble that I simply could not untangle. I knew there was a reason I'd done this to myself, something I absolutely had to do, and it was crucial, but regaining enough cognitive function to do it would be a challenge. I can't do this. To cut across yet? And remove the book? There's no way. My head was swimming as I tried, beyond all reasonable measure, to hang on to consciousness, just long enough to complete the task at hand. I could still see my face in the mirror, but only just, as the blood that had been spurting from my abdomen had largely glazed it over. It was a truly frightful sight, compared to, if no more disturbing than, anything I'd seen in Heavenly Host. I can't do it. I felt feeble, helpless, and the face in the mirror was smiling back at me for it, darkly, obscenely.
You can't do it.
Jet black crows flew by outside the window, and in that moment a fire sparked within me. Feeling oddly resolute, I gripped the dagger jutting out from my abdomen. Oh, come on, just get it over with. Can the book, heal her, or is she gonna die now? And yanked it to the side with every last bit of strength I had left in me. Yeah. No, thank you. The spray of blood gushing out of me. The spray of blood gushing out of me. The spray of blood gushing out of... The spray of blood gushing out of me became almost exponentially more violent. Most surprisingly, it seemed like equal amounts of blood were rushing to my brain as well, and the effect was feeling like the blood vessels in my head were on the verge of bursting. But just as I felt like I was moments from my final blackout, I saw something. There, among my own entrails, on the ground, was a blood-drenched tome. It was the Book of Shadows, without question. My vision blurred from the intense loss of blood and even more intense pain. I fell forward, unable to maintain any semblance of balance any longer. And I landed right on it, with a loud, warm, and unpleasant splash, my face planted firmly into the book, which was steaming under the odd temperature differentials of my viscera. Okay. Oh, and she's alive. I awoke with a start. I was still in Hinoi's room. Instinctively and frantically, I looked down at my abdomen. There I saw a scar resembling the ones I'd almost died from during the blowback at Yoshi Shinazaki's house. Runic lettering and all, but that was it. The bleeding had stopped. In fact, there was no blood anywhere in the room, and on the floor in front of me sat the Book of Shadows. Not a copy, but the original. This is... I slowly touched it, and from behind me, Sachiko spoke. The book has acknowledged you as its owner. She was staring at me with a docile, almost reverent look in her eyes. I picked up the book and looked at it, fear and awe running through my now clear head. It grumbled a bit, darting its eyes back and forth. Eventually, it seemed to settle on a specific direction, locking its gaze. It seemed to be looking out the window. What is that? Most likely the entrance to their nirvana.
あの方向如月学園だわ
Wait, Kisaragi Academy is in that direction. Oh, there's Mom and Dad.
帰ってきてたのもうお父さん
Dad, Mom, thank goodness. I was worried sick about...
世界はもう終わりました。
The world has ended.
世界はもう終わりました。
The world has ended.
お父さんお母さん
Dad, Mom. Oh, I can move now. Okay.
世界はも
Yeah, they're saying the same thing about this mirror. Oh, I can walk right through it. Cool. Can I save? Can I go back to Hinoi's room and save? I have to hurry and get to Kisaragi Academy. No! There's no reason for me to be upstairs right now. I want to save! No! Okay.
きっと私帰ってくるからね
I'll be back for you, I swear. Corpse party. What are you doing? What are you doing? I'm gonna get copyright for this. Dean Grisgris, yeah? I thought we already saw this. Yeah, Corpse Party Blood Drive. Sachiko, I can't believe I'm saying this, but having you on my side is kind of reassuring. Yeah, she's not a horrible, malice-filled friggin' spirit. Dead set on revenge, so... Sachiko looked at me with sweet, innocent eyes. When I arrived at Kisaragi Academy, I got a much better look at the phenomenon. It was like a whirlpool with a red, dully shining hole in its center. Actually, it looks like it's black in the center and red on the edges, but cool. Was this the entrance to the Ever After? Beyond that is the Nirvana. Kinetic magic? Like how witches fly? No way! I closed my eyes, clasped the Book of Shadows tightly in both hands, and prayed. Book of Shadows, lend me strength. When I opened my eyes again and looked up into the sky, my body began to float. I was in control of the Book of Shadows. I was a legitimate practitioner of magic now. This moment felt almost like an awakening to endless new possibilities.
これ本当に飛んでる
I'm actually flying? Wow! And right next to me, flying by my side, was Sachiko.
あゆみ
The momentary loss of focus dropped me out of my trance, and I immediately began falling. I gripped the book even tighter and concentrated harder than before, and sure enough, I began rising up towards the vortex once more.
あゆみ気をつけてあなたが力を使えるのはその本のおかげ絶対離しちゃダメ
Be careful, Yubi. It's the book that's allowing you to use these powers. You mustn't let go of it.
分かった
Understood. As I flew higher, I could see Magadi sitting on the roof of the school.
ブックオブシャドウズを従えたようね見直したわ篠崎あゆみ
Looks like you managed to gain control over the Book of Shadows after all. I underestimated you, Ayumi Shinozaki.
それにしても如月学園の真上に涅槃へのエスカレーターがあるなんてね
You even installed an escalator from Kisaragi Academy right up to the Nirvana. Not too shabby.
ついでにもう一つ教えてやるとね涅槃がこの世界に侵食してつながってしまったのは別にあなただけのせいじゃない
There is one more thing you should probably know, though. The Nirvana's encroachment upon and direct connection to this world isn't really your fault at all.
涅槃天神症がこの世に発生してしまった時点で
The very moment that the heavenly host Nirvana appeared in this world, sorry, I accidentally pressed it.
生み出されてしまった時にいつかこの時が来ることは決まっていた
No, even farther back. At the moment when the Book of Shadows was first created, the coming of this apocalypse was basically an inevitability. I looked into Magari's face. She was being completely sincere.
その本の元の所有者も篠崎義恵もみんなそれを食い止めようとあるいは遅らせようと必死だったの
The former owners of that book, including Yoshi Shinozaki, all tried desperately to stop it, or at least slow it down.
それが次世代へつなぐだけの運命であってもねそうやって代々受け継いできたのよ
And when they learned they couldn't, they left that fate to the next generation instead. That's why the book continued to be handed down through the ages.
そうだったの
I see. So that's why it was killing all the husbands to make the women want to use it to open the Nirvana?
だから言ってみればあなたがいようといまいといずれこうなったわ
What that means is, this all would have happened anyway, with or without you.
ただあなたの行為はあの狂信者集団野号浦教会の生き残りミストに涅槃のパワーを与えてしまった
Save for one thing, your actions resulted in the power of the Nirvana being handed over to Masudo, the surviving member of that fucked up Yaguda cult.
その責任は取らなきゃいけないわ
And you do need to take responsibility for that.
責任
Responsibility.
あなたには本物のブックオブシャドウズがある
You have the real Book of Shadows.
天神症で分散していた涅槃の力はミストの持つ偽物に取り込まれてしまった
But all the power of the Nirvana broken up and distributed throughout Heavenly Host has been absorbed by Masudo's fake book.
でもそれを取り戻してその本に封印すればあんなもの簡単に吹っ飛ばせるわ
If you can get it back and seal it in that one though, you can easily outclass him.
そして涅槃のコアをも迎え入れられたならその本は完璧なものとなる
And if you can go one step further, taking in the Nirvana's core, then that book will be complete.
さあ反撃よ食らわしてやりなさい
Now is the time to strike. Go in there and fuck him up.
世界が終わる前に一発ぐらい本物の実力ってやつをね 私は見ているわ
Before the world ends, let him see what real power tastes like. I'll be watching. Magadi grew smaller as I climbed higher and higher, and as I looked up, I could see the threshold looming ever larger, poised as if to wrap itself around me.
あゆみ怖い
Are you scared?
死ぬの怖い
Are you scared of dying?
怖いか
I don't know. Am I? I smiled at her, and to my surprise, it was a genuine smile. Somehow or another, I was feeling very calm. Sachiko looked at me with wide eyes.
どうしたの？
What's wrong? She turned away briefly, then looked over at me once more. It almost seemed like in that brief moment, she changed expressions in much the way someone would change a suit.
あゆみ、怖いのはサチと涅槃のコアにいる人。気をつけて。
Ayumi, what you should be scared of is Sachi, and the person in the Nirvana's core. Don't let your guard down.
涅槃のコアにいる人？それはミストじゃなくて？
The person in the Nirvana's core? It isn't Masudo?
うん、別にいる。
Uh-huh. There's someone else. Who? I looked back up to find myself practically right on top of the hole in the sky that stood in front of the abnormally huge red moon. And with my conviction settled, I jumped in. The harsh flash, nausea, and the wrenching tightness in my chest caused me to lose consciousness for a second. But then I awoke to find that heaven and earth had switched places. It looked as though I were falling headfirst into a massive storm with flashing lightning and roaring thunder. It almost seemed like I was previewing what the world would look like after its destruction. In the sky there was an enormous face of a doll, and the walls around me were all made of flesh. I clenched the Book of Shadows with both hands as I slowly made my landing in this new version of the Nirvana. It was a mountain of rubble.
何これ？完全に壊れてる。
What is this? Everything's broken to bits.
何よもう。
Ow, what the hell?
あゆみ、大丈夫？
Ayumi, are you okay?
平気だよ。これくらい。
Yeah, I can handle this much at least. I slowly, carefully found my footing and pulled myself back up to my feet. This was an entirely different heavenly host. It bore almost no resemblance whatsoever to any version of the school we'd traversed previously.
天神小学校がこんな姿に。みんなは？
Heavenly Host Elementary turned into this? Where are the others?
持田くん、中島さん、岸沼くん、クオン先生、愛子さん。
Mochida! Nakashima! Kishinuma! Ms. Kuon! Aiko! I called out to my friends but received no answer. All I could hear was the rumbling and twisting of the air around me. Oh god, they're there. Okay, let me look at this first. A name tag rests beside the corpse. Kitashiro High, Class 3-2, Kazuki Munakata. Crushed by a piece of the school. Oh, so he was still alive until just now? There was no mistaking it. In the midst of the wreckage, pieces of clothing from Kishinuma, Mochida, Nakashima, Miss Kuon, and Aiko were clearly visible. And the unfortunate souls who were wearing this clothing were all buried under fallen beams and other debris, and surrounded by a veritable sea of blood. I knelt down and began sobbing uncontrollably. You guys!
ミスター！出てきなさいよ！あなたは絶対許さない！
Masudo, show yourself! What you've done is unforgivable! Sachiko stared at me as I continued to scream and cry.
あゆみ、
何？幸子。
What is it, Sachiko?
幸子頑張ってみる。天神小学校の運命だったら、ちょっとなら戻せるかもしれない。
I'll see what I can do. I'll try to restore Heavenly Host Elementary's destiny. At least some small part of it. What? Sachiko produced a calavera necklace from her pocket. The skeletal figure on the chain made a slight hollow clinking sound as it was handled, very much as actual bone would. It looked handmade and seemed oddly warm, like a keepsake.
それは？
What is that? I had this weird feeling that I'd seen this object somewhere before.
どこかで見たことあるような。 思い出せない。
I swear that looks familiar, but from where? She was wearing it in, the school. It's from the school. She remembers the school. There's the birthday. Sachiko's hysteric birthday bash. Though she was looking down at the ground a bit, slightly guilty and slightly guarded, Sachiko giggled slightly.
これ幸子の宝物。
This is my treasure. Is that not what they made of her? Because she was wearing it at the end, right? A big smile crept across her lips, and for a moment she looked every bit as part of an ordinary little girl. I was confused. Sachiko placed her hand on the Book of Shadows. Fact loop. And the book spoke.
同じ日を繰り返せ。
Repeat the same day. Followed by Sachiko. Suddenly, I was in Yoshi Shinazaki's clinic. The very same clinic Nakashima and I had visited on that fateful day.
この人はヨシエさん。
This person is Yoshi. I was viewing Sachiko's memory of an event from long ago. Yoshi was writing something in her journal.
アナグラムの解析を進めると、この本に書かれている術はすべて実体の伴わない理論でしかなかった。
I've analyzed the anagrams and determined that all of the spells written in this book are nothing more than theories. Not one of them has ever been properly tested.
成功例に関する文献も全く存在しない。
There are no success rates. There's no data of any kind.
私はなんと愚かなことをしてしまったのだろう。最初から成功しないものに心血を注いでいたなんて。
So why was I naive enough to attempt something so foolish? I've devoted everything I have, my blood, my soul, to an end that was destined never to succeed in the first place.
本の中身である涅槃が飛び出し、異空間を作ってしまうだけの失敗作の術。
And now the spell's failed and the Nirvana has escaped from the book. I've created a whole other dimension.
しかもそこに囚われた死者は生きていた証、存在の痕跡すらも消されてしまう。
Worst of all of the deceased who become trapped in that dimension are erased from existence in our world. Sachiko came into the room from the back. Her eyes met with Yoshi's and she smiled.
だが、飛び出した涅槃を抑え込むことができたため。
However, since I was able to suppress the stray Nirvana, Sachiko stood obediently by her mother, wearing the white dress we'd seen on her in Heavenly Host. Yoshi patted her on the head reprovingly. Sachiko then coughed out a fine black mist, but sucked it back into her mouth like a carp.
失われ、黒く消えたあの人の存在だけは取り戻せたのだ。
I could at least rescue one person's existence from that shadowy forgotten fate. The face on the image was blacked out, like those of Seiko and the others, however. To my surprise, the black marking was slowly peeling itself away, revealing the features underneath. Oh, is that who's in the core? It's her father? My vision slowly cleared, and when it did, amidst all of the rumbling and shaking, I found myself back in Heavenly Host, Elementary. Oh! Then promptly Sachiko collapsed to the ground. Without thinking, I picked her up and held her limp, light body in my arms. She must have used up her spirit energy as she was clearly drained. She was breathing, but only very lightly.
苦しさ。私、幸子に触れてる。
Poor girl seems to be in pain. Wait, am I actually holding Sachiko? Sachiko was real. She had to have been, or I wouldn't have been able to hold her onto her like this. She seemed injured, but not in any traditional manner. There were cracks running through her body, each one emanating an unearthly blue, almost gaseous light. Meanwhile, the school itself was also cracking and breaking all around me, making an incredible noise. The roof above began to crumble away, providing glimpses of the real world. And incredibly, the entity walls hadn't spawned there yet.
戻ってる。まだみんなが死ぬ前だ。
We're back. This is before everyone died.
幸子、しっかりして。
Sachiko, hang in there.
入り込む。あの水が戻せなかった。
Yumi, I'm sorry. I couldn't revert more time.
幸
No, Sachiko, thank you. That was amazing. You did great. I could hardly believe it. I just complimented Sachiko, of all people, on a job well done. You're praising me? Her newly formed physical body was rapidly beginning to evaporate into mist. My voice was trembling, though I suspect it was less with fear and more with confusion. Yes, that was incredible. You're a good girl, Sachiko. She looked up into the sky, eyes beginning to well with tears. She was struggling to speak. Soon she wouldn't be able to at all. I wanted to apologize. What? She barely had any voice left, but was persevering nonetheless. This was clearly something she didn't want to leave unsaid, no matter what. I know you can never forgive me, but I wanted to apologize anyway. And with that, she began full-on crying. I couldn't help doing the same. I killed a lot of people. I'm not a good girl. You shouldn't raise someone like me. The tears were streaming down my face now. Sachiko's voice was so mournful, so genuine. But you just saved a lot of people now, too. So thank you. A massive earthquake shook the ground. Sachiko looked scared, so I patted her head and hugged her tightly. She then looked me squarely in the eye, gripping her calavera necklace tightly in her hand as if it were a rosary. It's strange, isn't it? What is? Once you know you did right, passing on isn't so scary anymore. Sachiko and the blue light alike both disappeared completely. She was gone. The being I was hugging just moments ago no longer existed. All I could do was clench my fists and mourn. The look on Sachiko's face when she asked if I was scared of dying kept flashing through my head. Sachiko, you were the one who was scared, weren't you? I kept my head hung low for a moment and stood up and wiped the tears from my eyes. Accompanying the sound of rumbling, one single entity wall now stood in the real world. The cycle was beginning anew. Watch over me, Sachiko. One Shinozaki to another. Praise you. Praise good girl. Unfair, Sachiko. Determination obtained all endings in Chapter 7. Chapter 7 Determination to be continued. EVP entries for Yui Shishido have been unlocked. EVP entries for Mayo Suzumoto have been unlocked. EVP entries for Sachiko Shinozaki have been unlocked. EVP entries for Sekutaro Morishige have been unlocked. Soulful Testimony from Ikue Otani has been unlocked. New Encyclopedia Obscura entries have been unlocked. Calavera Doll, Sachiko's family photo, Sachiko Shinozaki. Yoshi Shinozaki, fact loop. Extra Chapter 5 has been unlocked. Threading the Needle, unlocked Extra Chapter 5. Alright. Sachiko Shinozaki, Soulful Testimony.
皆さん、お疲れ様でした。幸子と、そして幸子の母のよしえをやらせていただきました大谷育恵です。 たでしょう。お疲れ様。コープスパーティー、最終幸子編最終章、じゃなくて天神小学校最終章。どうして最終章って普通に言わないんだろう。天神小学校最終章って言ったら違うことが始まるんじゃないのみたいな。もう怖い話もうやめようよ。今回はですね、さっちゃんがなんと前から、このスタッフさんみんなにさっちゃん成仏させようよ、させてよなんて話をしたら絶対成仏しませんっていう話を聞いて、本当に目の前真っ暗だったんですけど、台本もいただいて晴れて成仏しましたー。イエーイ。もう戻ってこない。もう黒いさっちゃんにはならないよなんてね。まあほらぶっちゃけお仕事としてはね、まあちょっとこうどうだろうか、怖いのは苦手なんですけれど、一応いろいろさせていただいたことにはとってもなんかいい経験をさせていただきまして、さっちゃんの悪行を見ながら心も痛かったりしたんですが、やってる時はねとっても楽しかったんですよ。なのでまあね、皆さんにも嫌な思いもさせてしまいましたが、最後にまさっちゃんが言いました。謝りたかったと。本当は謝りたかったね。いい子のさっちゃんで、まあ、とても強いパワーがあったからこんなことになってしまったんですけれど、皆さんも、力の使い方は十分気をつけて、いい世の中にしていきましょう。はい、ということでどうもありがとうございました。お疲れ様でした。
Calavera doll. A doll that the Kisaragi students and their friends made for Sachiko in another timeline. Sadly, no one remembers doing this, including Sachiko, who simply held on to it without actually knowing why. Its shape is authentic to the Mexican calavera style often seen in Dia de Muertos, the Day of the Dead. Sachiko's family photo. An old family photo of Yoshi Shinozaki that Ayumi and Naomi found at the Shinozaki estate. As a way to protect Sachiko's father from the destiny that awaits all Shinozaki men, Yoshi intentionally scratched his face from this photograph, thinking it might be enough to trick the spirits into believing he no longer exists. Sachiko Shinozaki, a child who swallowed the nirvana, proving her spiritual ability stronger than anyone else's in the Shinozaki family, is released from the curse by Satoshi and company. Yoshi Shinozaki. Sachiko's mother, her husband Seiji, dies from the Shinozaki curse, so she creates the nirvana and tries to relocate there, to be with him forever. Problems arise, however, and Sachiko winds up swallowing the nirvana. Regretting her actions, Yoshi chooses to live out her days with Sachiko, only for both of them to be killed by Principal Yanagihori. Fact loop. The spell the former master of heavenly host Sachiko can use allows her to revert time. Even if the same fate cannot be avoided, the road taken to get there may differ. Extra Chapter 5, Threading the Needle. In the depths of the Martubus Tomb HQ, in a storage room stacked high with books to rival any libraries, I was hard at work researching my mark, squatting on the ground to read the books I'd spread out before me.
もともとうちのものだったんだよね。なんかルーツとか情報ないの？
The Book of Shadows originally belonged to Martuba's tomb, right? So where's all the info on its roots? It's so dusty in here. I hit the shelf behind me with my back when I sneezed, and after a couple seconds had passed, a fairly heavy book fell from above, landing right on my spine. Ow! Damn it, what the hell? Put that shit away right next time, you fuckers! I observed the fallen tome, which had serendipitously opened to a photo that looked an awful lot like the very book I was seeking. Before I could read the associated passages, however, a member of the order appeared and gave me a stiff salute.
Second degree, Master Magari. 幸せの石の解析が終わりました。有機霊合 83% の本物のようです。
Mistress Magari, of the second degree, we have completed our analysis of the Ever After stones. Their spiritual composition shows a nominal 83% accuracy to the originals.
まあ、僕ら、三輪愛子から取り上げた石ね。お前ら、勝手に増やしたりしなかっただろうな。
Okay, good work. Those are the stones I swiped from Maiko Niwa, though, right? You assholes better not have replicated the damn things without my consent.
とんでもございません。
We would never.
まあいいか。これは私の獲物だから。出しゃばったら消すからね。 いくらマルトゥバのものでも。
Fine then. Just remember, this is my prey. Anyone who gets in my way will be eliminated, Martuba or otherwise. Oh, extra chapter 5, Threading the Needle End. That was extremely short. Okay. Alright, that was that. I'll see you in chapter, what is it, chapter 8 next? Okay, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching. Bye.